Good morning and a big welcome to the private live stream for today. And it is an exciting one today. I'm actually really excited to answer one of the big questions that always comes up for a lot of the people in our world, because obviously we coach people to do things different in their life. They want change, they want to create more wealth, they want to do things in their life. And so today I want to answer one of the big questions around this, because I'm sure all you guys are on this path too. You're wanting to make changes in your life. And the question is, why don't we do the things we need to do in order to change? And this can be in relation to whether it's creating wealth and changing your life in that way, or whether it's losing weight, or whether it's gaining new skills, or a new relationship, or having the perfect relationship, whatever it is in our life. Let me know, have you had this feeling where you know what you need to do? Like there's certain things that we all know we need to do. Let's say to lose weight or to get healthy. We know we need to exercise every day. We need to eat vegetables. We need to, there's those things that we know are going to make a difference in our life. But when we come to do them, you've ever felt that almost like a stubborn sort of oppositional feeling to doing it? And I know I come across this too. I know that meditating helps me enormously. I know it's incredibly good for me. I know I feel better afterwards. But even so, I might be getting a bit wound up, getting a bit stressed, feeling a bit, and I think, okay, I need to meditate. I need to let this go. But I can still feel in me, yeah, I don't want to do that. I just want to, I either want to keep pushing on, or there's some sort of this deep oppositional sort of feeling in me. And I always wondered, what the heck is that? Why is that there? Because I know that this is going to help me. Has anyone else felt that? I'm sure you have. And that's what fascinates me. This is what fascinates me about the human brain. So last night I was actually watching a documentary about psilocybin, which is the chemical that's in magic mushrooms. And they're actually giving people this chemical to help them overcome long-term anxiety and depression and all sorts of things like sort of mental illnesses. And I don't like calling it that, anyway, long-term conditions of thinking, I guess, and experiences of a brain in a certain state. Anyway, so they've had some really great successes with this, about giving people this drug, psilocybin. And basically what this drug does is it down-regulates or stops blood flow, or reduces the capacity of a specific area of your brain. And it's called, there's a couple of bits of it. It's the default mode network, which is the part of your brain that when you kind of go into daydream, or you're not particularly doing anything, thinking about anything in particular, your default mode network is that part of your brain that starts whizzing around when in that moment. And it's got all these little bits and pieces in it, the posterior cingulate cortex and the medial prefrontal cortex and all these things. And it's also very bound up with this other network called the salience network. And all these things relate very much to you creating your sense of who you are and your sense of self. About the answering that really kind of quite deep fundamental question is, who am I? What am I good at? What am I bad at? What's my personality traits? Am I loving? Am I caring? Am I selfish? Am I whatever? So all those kind of labels are caught up in that DFN, the default DMN, default mode network, and the salience network, and this little network of structures in your brain. Now, interestingly, when people are given psilocybin, that default mode network gets down-regulated or shut down. And so it gives you a very sort of bizarre sense of no self. It releases you, it frees people from their sense of who they are. And what's really interesting is that when people suddenly are given that freedom, boom, it doesn't matter who I am or what, I can absolutely reset everything about who I am. the brain can actually go through this kind of resetting process where it suddenly lets go of all that crap that it was hanging on to about its sense of self, and allows you to reprogram and kind of put in this new sense of self about who you want to actually have a sense of who you are, and what you look like and what you're good at and how you feel about things. And this has been incredibly wonderful and freeing for a lot of people who have gone through this process. Now, of course, this is done on very tight medical conditions and with a lot of therapy leading up to and post that process, so that they go through a process where it's very, cared for and guided. You don't probably just want to go and take magic mushrooms and go whee. But what it does show us is that our brains have that capacity to change. I was really inspired by that. I thought, yes, that shows me that even without drugs, I'm sure there's other ways that we can create that sense within our brains so that we can just let go of all that rubbish and that crap that's kind of making us feel like we can't do certain things or can't change, and just become who we want to be. And that can happen relatively quickly. So I started researching, and I was really interested, can hypnosis and hypnotherapy actually create that same sense? Because I know I've experienced that under hypnotherapy and also through meditation, that sense of no self, of kind of oneness, of being not me but part of everything and all things, and this kind of release of thinking of who I am and what my opinions are and all that kind of thing. And yes, there's a lot of clinical evidence to show that hypnosis and clinical hypnotherapy can actually, and meditation, can help you achieve the same thing. Now, I thought that was really, really exciting, because that's what we're talking about in Prava, is a whole process, and what I'm hoping to help you do with the Prava process is set your brain up with all those conditions for change, with all those positive networks, because the default mode network, interestingly, is very, very connected to your amygdala. So the problem there is, if Miggy is sending through all these negative messages about you can't do this and this is horrible, and having all those very unpowerful, unproductive thoughts going on, self-critical thoughts and all that, the problem with that is that's directly messaging your self, who I am center, and programming that to say, well, I can't be that confident, wonderful person because my amygdala is telling me, no, I can't. There's things to be afraid of. I can't do that. So it's really interesting. So I think it's really important to realize that what you're doing by getting yourself in states and understanding how your brain's working. So working on that powerful thinking, making sure that you're taking credit for things, that you're putting things in context and getting perspective, that you're always thinking, yes, things are going to change, things are going to get better. Having that positive and powerful thought processes sets the stage for you to make that switch to actually change your sense of self and who you are. And what I want to do, so in terms of, okay, what can we do about this? Can we actually create this set of circumstances to help us make that leap, that breakthrough? And yes, I believe you can. And clinically, it's been shown that you can. So one of the first things that you can do in order to create this circumstance where you can make these incredible breakthroughs and just become the person that you want to be, and all those things that you want to do will suddenly become easy. Instead of feeling that that's not me, or the oppositional feeling or the defiance type feeling, just going, yeah, I'm going to get exercise today, thinking, yes, that's going to be great. And you just kind of automatically do it then. You don't have all that struggle. And this is where I think it comes down to, how there's a lot of spiritual people and spiritual gurus and things who talk about getting in the flow and just being in the flow of life, and life should be easy and all that sort of thing. I think physiologically, this is where it comes down to. This is the crossing over of that idea of spirituality and freedom and joy, crossing over with the actual physical and chemical nature of your brain and how it's working. And what I'm always looking for is those hacks, those kind of things that we can do and understanding why they work. That's what's so made such a difference for me, is I needed to understand scientifically and physically why this stuff works. Then that gives me that really strong sense of belief in my ability to change stuff. And again, that comes back to that powerful thinking, when you have that strong belief that yes, I can change my brain, and what I'm doing is physiologically and chemically changing my outcomes. So what can you do? Number one is meditation, and learning that process of being able to dissociate, being able to let go of those everyday thoughts and all that processing, and be able to have those moments of peace, those moments of deep relaxation. That is really, really important. And I'm working on some more Prava resources for you to be able to do that. I cannot wait to release these to you guys. But yes, so getting it in the meantime, even a meditation app or something that you can just start learning how to get yourself into that relaxed state. Because step number 2, now hypnotherapy, you can go to a hypnotherapist, and obviously, what I want to be able to do is teach you how to do this for yourself, or have me guide you through this so that you can do this. But what you need to be hypnotizable, and part of that is doing that first step of learning how to meditate, learning how to let go. And you are going to be far better at this. You're going to have far better results if you train yourself to be hypnotizable. Some of us are lucky and we're just, you're just hypnotizable to start with. Other people, I think, need to set that foundation. And even if you are hypnotizable, you need to set that foundation first. So that's really, really important. Then you can do your hypnotherapy or your hypnosis, and you can actually just basically set yourself free. Give yourself permission to be who you want to be the weight you want to be, have the relationship you want to have the wealth that you want to have. So, and that's step 3, is actually deciding what that is. Actually, that could be step 1, really. That kind of melds in, they're all can happen at once, but the meditation and the choosing who you want to be can go hand in hand, because as you meditate, you can ruminate and think about. That's very, very powerful. If while you're relaxing, you think about what you want, you go into that future and picture what it is and who it is you actually want to become. And I think this is why setting goals has been shown to be so effective and so important. Not just setting goals, but actually visualizing yourself in that state of having that goal, being that weight, enjoying that person in your life, having that wealth, and where you're going to be and what you're going to do and who's going to be surrounding you. So setting that vision, and that's part of Prava, of course, is setting that vision to be really clear on actually who you do want to be. And then just absolutely giving yourself permission to be that. Now, for some people, that's harder than others. And so don't feel bad about that. I was talking to my daughter this morning. She said, Mum, you've got to make sure that people don't feel bad. Sometimes it's not that easy. I said, yeah, you're right. It isn't that easy sometimes. And I still go through processes in my head now, today, because of my accident 2 years ago on a mountain bike. A year and a half ago, if you'd asked me if I'd ever get on a mountain bike again, I would have said no. I actually truly believed I was never going to get on a mountain bike again, just because of the state of my mind at that time. But over time, as I've worked on becoming the person that I want to be again, I've totally changed that round. I love being on a mountain bike. Oh my God, I get such a buzz out of it, and I just can't wait to be out there and in the bush. And yeah, I still, again, like I said, I'm not going to ever do barrel down hills ever again. And what was I doing on the weekend? Barreling down hills. So it is about setting that vision and that goal, and being and realizing what brings you joy and happiness and excitement and all those processes as well. So setting that vision. So number 1, meditate. Number 2, going to learn either go through some hypnotherapy or learn how to hypnotize yourself, basically. 3, you make sure you set your vision and who you actually want to be. What is it you actually want? And number 4, I think, is what I mentioned before, is giving yourself, as well as meditation, giving yourself the background so that when you do go through this process, you can give yourself permission right now to do something, to be allowed to get better. Maybe you're unwell. I know in my process of recovery, there was actually stages where I actually had to say to myself out loud, Liz, you're allowed to be well now. You're allowed to go for a run and not get sick and not feel awful about it. You just allow yourself to do that. And I think it was like this epiphany each time to say, hey, wow, yeah, I'm allowed to do that now. I don't have to protect my body. That's the other thing our bodies often do. When we've had an injury or a trauma or something, it goes into protect mode and it forgets to stop that protect mode. So part of your self-identity becomes, I was ill or I had this happen, so I need to protect myself, so I need to do these things. And sometimes you're going to have to give yourself permission to say, actually, no, I don't need to do that anymore. And sometimes that's a very conscious process. And that's going straight to that default mode network and allowing it to have a different opinion. So going through the Prava process, so practicing your powerful thinking. When you find yourself in that negative state and realizing, okay, I'm not thinking positively here, I'm thinking quite destructively, remembering, okay, what are the good things in my life? Take credit for the things that I am good at and remembering those wonderful things, putting it in context, thinking, okay, well, this is just one part of my life. It's not everything. I can isolate that incident from others if it's a negative thing, and remembering that it's going to change. If it's a negative thing, it's going to change. So doing that powerful thinking, resetting some rules. So you can see now with the idea of the default mode network, why setting rules and thinking about what are my rules and you know, what happens when someone breaks my rules, why that's so important to set, because that's part of who you are and what you believe you're capable of. So setting those rules, being very kind to yourself in this whole process, because you are gonna, like, sometimes it just won't work. Sometimes it's hard. Like my daughter said to me, Mum, sometimes that's really hard to do and I just don't want to do it. And that's fine too. So being kind to yourself and allowing yourself to step backwards sometimes, but know that you're always going to go forwards again in the future. Having that vision. And last one, being very, very careful about the people you surround yourself, that A for association. So this is a really big part of creating who you are. That default mode network, it looks at it's looking to your amygdala to get information about what's happening in the world and whether you're safe, whether you're not safe, who should you be. So all those opinions about who you are in your mind. So let's say you want to create wealth in your life. And if you've grown up with parents who are not wealthy, and all your friends are not wealthy, and all the people around you are not wealthy, when you suddenly pipe up and say, hey, I'm going to make $1 billion, that's probably going to be met with some resistance. So because the people around you don't understand that goal, and also it's going to be met from resistance within you. So right at the beginning, I was saying, why don't we do the things why don't we just do the things we know we should do? Well, part of that is because your default mode network and your sense of self goes, oh my God, that's not me. And no matter how much consciously you say, I want that, and you know, it makes logical sense, at a deep level, that little part of your brain is saying, that's not me. So that's really important, because part of that's not me is because the people around you are saying, that's not you either. They don't know that part of you. And they might not be doing it out of maliciousness or anger or anything like that. They might be doing it out of love and worry and concern for you. So thinking about who you surround yourself, being part of positive support networks, starting to hang around some different people who do have what you want. If it's a beautiful relationship you want, hang around people who have beautiful relationships and see how they operate. And your brain will start to learn, okay, that could be me, that I can do that. That could be part of me and my identity. So it is really important, that final A of Prava, the association. Think about the people that you're hanging around with and support that little default mode network and your sense of self. Because when you give yourself permission to be in a wonderful relationship, you need to prove to that little part of your brain that yes, this is possible, and this is part of me and who I am now. And you can give yourself permission to do that. So very, very exciting. It was so cool to see this, the way, I just very inspired and excited that, again, proof that your brain can change, that these things are not permanent, that you can do things, you can take actions, think powerfully, and know that you can make change so life can become easy and life can just flow and bring into the world the things that you really want to bring into it. So I'm really excited. So keep an eye out, guys. I'm working on it. I can't wait to deliver this for you so you can go through this process. But at least start now. Do your Prava process. Go through that Prava process. Learn how to meditate. And then we'll go on and do some even more advanced techniques so that you can have that absolute changeover. And in an instant, you can give yourself permission to be or have whatever, be who you want to be and whoever it is that is. All right. So I'll see you next week, guys. Have a wonderful week. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.